what would be your advice to younger lawyers or even kids that are thinking about going to law school that are interested in being a judge? And like, how would you go about being a judge? Before you answer that question, though, tell us why you became a judge. Like, what was it for you that made you interested in being a criminal judge?
So growing up, I think when I hit sixth grade, one of my good friends who's, still a good friend to this day, I'd say, if you said, who's your best friend? I'd say he is. His father was a criminal court judge in Arizona. He was actually one of the first Black criminal court judges in Arizona. And so I wouldn't say like I aspired, immediately, like while I was in high school, and I've known him for 30 something years. It's not that I really aspired to being a judge, but I knew that it was kind of always in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
And I never really thought about being a judge until probably 2013, 2014. One of my good friends, who I believe you're friends with as well, Daryl Davila, who
Sure.
worked for Governor Perry.
Yeah, sure.
He was
Great
involved
guy.
in appointing. Yeah, he's a great guy, Aggie. So of course you love him.
Even greater guy.
And he was involved in the appointments. Yeah, he was involved in the appointments process for Governor Perry, and there were several judicial appointments made in Harris County, and I knew a lot of the people that were involved in that, and finally at some point somebody said, well, hey, why don't you think about it? And one of the, a certain pastime for trial lawyers is to complain about judges. And
I've never done that, by the way. All the judges that are watching or listening, I've never complained one time.
And I've appeared in my life. I counted one day, and I don't remember the number, but I've probably appeared before 40 or 50 judges in my life. And at some point, when you complain or you see things you don't like, there's a choice to be made, and one of your choices can be, well, if you think you can do the job as well or better, maybe you should. And so,
can I interject something right
yes.
there? Because one of the reasons I started this podcast is because I wanted to talk to people that were leaders and people that were positive. And one of the things I found after, I think 17 episodes, is there's a lot of commonalities. And so Congressman Will Hurd, who just got released this week, said something on the podcast that was just basically identical to what you were saying. He said, when I was in the CIA, one of my jobs was briefing members of Congress on intelligence issues, and he was stunned by the quality of some of the elected representatives. So I think Will's comment was, my mom said you're either part of the solution or part of the problem. So he ran for Congress in order to help the intelligence community from the other side of the aisle, so to speak. So it sounds like kind of the same thing for you. You decided, hey, if I'm just going to sit here and complain about the judges, I'm part of the problem, not part of the solution. So very, very similar. So anyway, you were talking about the process of becoming a judge.
Yeah. So, judges in Texas are elected, and they're elected, their party label. So for instance, like the city of Houston, if you run for mayor, you're not running, like on the ballot, it's not going to say, Joe Smith, Democrat, or Jane Smith, Republican. It's just going to say Joe Smith or Jane Smith. Yeah. But in Texas, for, a state district judge runs under a party label. And so there's, the advice really is be a good lawyer or be the best lawyer you can be, but also, there's a political process, frankly. Sure. And I ran in 2018, for judge. Well, I applied. So there was a vacancy in 2017 that was created wherein one of the sitting district court judges ran for a higher court and won. So there was a vacancy. I applied for that. Went through the interview process with the governor's office, didn't get it. And then I ran in 2018. So, and then there was the court that I serve in now, my predecessor resigned so she could run for one of the county commissioner spots. So it's a 2-track thing. There's the political track, and then there's the, hopefully you know what you're doing track. And thankfully, I would say the politics has been, as far as your day-to-day job, the politics don't matter. I am the only, and I don't know if it's a brag or what, it's just what it is. I mean, I'm the only Republican in countywide elected office, if that makes sense. So, there are
Interesting.
60 district
Interesting.
court judges,
Yeah.
59 of them are Democrats, and then there's me. And so,
Yeah.
but it doesn't come up. It really doesn't. Like,
Yeah.
and when it does come up, I'm the one. I raise it as a joke, like, um, I'll joke at a meeting, a judges meeting, like, oh, well, I'm the only Republican here. I'm going to go run off and tell all my Republican friends what you guys are doing. Like, I raise it as a joke, but
Yeah.
my colleagues have been nothing but welcoming and professional, and hopefully I've been the same. And but as far as if you want to be a judge, if you want to be a judge in Texas, it's probably 75% being the kind of lawyer that other lawyers would want to be a judge, and 25% being savvy at the political game and knowing who the players are, and sort of winding your way through that process.